Hello everyone and welcome to our F122 My Team Career Mode. I am very excited to finally have a storyline based series on the channel. I hope y'all are excited as well. And we're bringing two motorsport legends together to form a brand new team, Andretti Penske Racing. Both families have a rich history in not only F1 but racing in general, and now they've teamed up to field an F1 challenger for the 2022 season and beyond. We all have heard the rumors that Andretti is trying to join F1 in real life. Well, Roger Penske decided to jump on that opportunity and is going to join Andretti in forming an F1 team. And he decides to bring in an Indy Lights driver in myself right there. And you see we're going to be running number 69 this season, because why not? They also bring in an Australian F2 driver in the name of Oscar Piastri to be our teammate for this season, and that's something that Roger Penske and Michael Andretti both hope will be a winning combination in the future. But as far as this season goes, we do not expect to get wins. We almost don't expect to get points finishes this season. The only time we really can expect to maybe finish inside that top 10 is if we have some kind of bonker strategy, or if we have some kind of crazy race where the AI create all kinds of issues for themselves, and we perhaps can sneak in a top 10 finish or two. But we go with Echo for our sponsor this season, and then we take on Red Bull as our powertrain this season, with that connection between Roger Penske and Honda in the IndyCar series. And here we choose Oscar Piastri to be our teammate, but now it is time to And there you have it, the first look at our brand new car for this season, and I am really happy with the way that it turned out. Honestly, all the liveries that they have in the game to start out look really nice, but I decided to make this one kind of unique, turn that white into metallic on the car, and I think it looks very different from a lot of the other liveries I've seen. So I'm really happy with the way the car turned out. I hope that we'll have a modded paint scheme in at some point that Sanok might be making us, but until we do, I'm happy with what we have for now. But here you see us just getting prepared for the first race of the season. We have a driver camp selected for our teammate of Piastri, also a marketing campaign, upgrading just a couple of things with the car before we head to Bahrain, also upgrading one thing with our department as well, just trying to improve things before we even get the season started and try and help out every little bit. But what we're going to do is jump right in to practice number 1 and see what kind of pace that we have here with our practice programs, and just get on track for the very first time with this brand new car. All we're trying to do here in practice 1 is just try and figure out this car for the very first time, see how it handles, see how it drives, and again, just see what kind of pace that we're going to have. We're doing the race practice program right here to try and see if maybe we can have some kind of good pace heading into the first race of the season. And I can tell you one thing, the first thing I noticed with this car right away is it drives like a boat. It does not have any turn to it at all, and that is the first immediate thing that we're going to have to try and work towards. I think our powertrain is pretty decent, having the Honda powertrain, but our car's chassis and aero department are going to need big time work, and this thing feels extremely heavy. But there you see the end of practice 1. We ended up 1.6 seconds off the pace. Oscar Piastri ended up 1.8 seconds off the pace. 16th and 18th for the first practice of the season in Bahrain. I think we will all take that. That is much better than I was expecting for the both of us. But as we head into qualifying here, I think that the ultimate goal for qualifying is just to see where we stack up. It's not make it out of the first round. It's not even set really an extremely competitive lap. It's just get out on track, get a feel for the car still, and get as much information as we can. You see us already out on track very early in qualifying for our first run of the night, using all the ERS we can, trying to have a clear track. We have one car ahead of us, but it may be just giving us a little bit of a tow, and one car behind us as well. This first lap, I felt like it was going pretty well, but again, the car is still just kind of a boat to drive, and out of every corner I was either dealing with maybe oversteer or understeer, or just the car not wanting to turn to the center of the corners. But we come across the line that time, and we are 5th out of 6 drivers, now 6th out of 7 drivers in our first lap. So obviously not very good pace at all, but again, we don't expect to have fantastic pace, and we already know we're going to try for at least one more run. And we're on track for that second run of the night, using up every little bit of curbs as possible, as you see right there. And then I almost lose the car on that second one right there. The curbs in this game are so slippery. It's so hard to use them without just completely losing control of the car instantly. So it's a fine line of maybe using those curbs to help me turn a little bit, but then also having them completely end my night if I'm not careful. So this time we cross the line, though, on that second run. We go from 20th up to 12th in the standings, which is much better than our first run, and much better than I was expecting to have as well. And it actually winds up being enough to get us out of Q1. We wind up making it into Q2 by just 2 spots, and by just 2 tenths as well. So Sebastian Vettel right behind us is the last car in. Our teammate of Oscar Piastri only, unfortunately, goes 20th. But again, even the fact that we even made it into Q2 is surprising. But here we are out on track for our first run in Q2. And now that we've made it into this session, I mean, we certainly don't expect to make it to Q3 at all. We barely made it. We barely expected to make it to Q2. So we're out on track, just pretty much getting more information. You see me once again get loose right there on the exit of a corner. This car is just still a handful to drive, and it's going to be something to get used to as we continue to hopefully improve it as the season goes along. But again, just in Q2 here, this is basically just about get on track, use the sets of tires that we were given, and just try and again learn more. We also I decided to go out on track on an old set of tires. The best we could do was dead last, so we're way off the pace. And now though, we decided to go out on track with a brand new set of tires and see what we can do. Already through sector 1, already up by 3/10, and you can see me just gaining a whole lot of time here. But is it going to be enough to even get us out of 16th place? Already 4.5 tenths, now 7 tenths through sector 2. This lap looking much better than our first lap, but still getting loose to these turns right there. Those, you've seen me do that multiple times already in qualifying, and it's just happening every single lap. But this time across the line, we go from 16th and we stay 16th. We don't improve at all, and that's exactly where we expected to pretty much end Q2. But the fact that we haven't made it to Q2 is something that I am happy with, and I'll take 16th place, 2 seconds off the pace, even if it means being the last one in this session. But you see there, Valtteri Bottas also got a 5-place grid penalty, so he's going to wind up starting this race from 12th. But it is now time for the first race with Andretti Penske Racing here in Bahrain.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, George Russell, and Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Magnussen, and Pierre Gasly, Ocon, Bottas, they've taken a grid penalty, Yuki Tsunoda, and Ricciardo, Vettel, Cook, Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. They've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
There you heard Crofty getting us ready for the first race of our F122 My Team Career Mode with Andretti Penske Racing. I'm very excited to get this underway, but it's going to be a one-stop strategy today here in Bahrain. We go from the mediums to the hards, and we're also adding just a little bit of fuel to make sure that we don't run out, because you can no longer run those different fuel modes, so it's not worth the risk of trying to run with less fuel and then not have enough to make it to the end. You can't bank on a safety car. But here you see us using the manual grid position for the first time as well, and I put myself at a bit of an angle, not really by choice, but it wound up being to our advantage, and I got a good positioning there as well. But we are ready to begin this first race with Andretti Penske Racing here in Bahrain. It's going to be 5 red lights, and we are underway. Carlos Sainz gets a better launch than Charles Leclerc. They're going to be side by side, at least heading into turn number 1. And right behind them, it's Max Verstappen with a pretty good start as well. Sainz actually grabs the lead of the race as they head into the first turn, and now it's Max Verstappen fighting side by side with Leclerc. And then in the background here, I get a little bit squirrely. I have to deal with a bunch of cars around me as well. All the AI being insane to the first couple of turns. Esteban Ocon goes for a move, but then has to think better of it. Also catches car, and we are trying to defend from the French driver down this back straightaway. And then Lewis Hamilton, you see him right here getting a little bit squirrely, and he hits to the back of his teammate, losing his front wings, so he has an issue with his teammate on this very first lap, and that is not good. That is not a good start to the season. for the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. And already we come to the end of the first lap, and you can see me right there on the curbs again, almost losing the car. Yuki Tsunoda gonna send it up our inside down this final straightaway, heading into the final corner. I decide to not really fight it on this very first lap. Don't want to cause any issues for us very early in this race, so we let him go and decide to fight that battle maybe later on. Also realizing as well in 15th place with our teammate actually a Piastri right behind us. We're maybe not in the position we would expect to be, and there's Lewis Hamilton making the pit stop at the end of the first lap to replace his front wing, go on those soft tires as well. So an awful start for Lewis Hamilton to this season in 2022, maybe a redemption year for him. Also, Latifi on the pit lane as well with the wing change. Couldn't really tell why where he got that damage from, but either way, also a bad start for the Canadian as well to his 2022 season. But here we are at the beginning of the second lap, making a move, a dive bomb back on Yuki Tsunoda. I decided to be a little bit aggressive, just once again kind of test the waters a little bit, and we actually made that move work. So we're up to 13th place for the time being, still trying to defend from the Japanese driver who has been pretty aggressive to start his F1 career as well. And that time he actually misses the corner, and our teammate a Piastri hits him and loses his front wing. And then moments later, Piastri slowed down the straightaway. Right after that, he decides to retire the car. So disaster for the team just on the second lap. Already one car retired. We're the only one left for the team. We're the only one left to get us any kind of information. And I also have to carry the banner for the team to hope to try and get us a good finish for our very first race. You also see Tsunoda got a 5-second time penalty for that incident as well. I'm not too sure why he was given a time penalty for being ran into, but that is going to hurt his race as well, and that is an unfortunate start for him, for everybody involved, and especially for our team as well. But our team wasn't done with Tsunoda. He would continue to challenge us as we tried to defend from him here down this back straightaway. Now down the front straightaway, he's got a huge run going into turn number 1. He decides to take it to challenge us side by side on lap number 7, being super aggressive. And that time by, we still decide to fight back, and through turn 2, we get the pass done on him once again. So both of us being super aggressive to start this race. Neither one of us wanting to give up the position to each other. That time I had the DRS. He has his ERS. He challenges back to the inside this time, and I decide, all right, Yuki, you know what? I'm gonna finally give this position to you. I don't want to risk my car. I'm the only one left for my team. We're only 7 laps into the season. I don't want to wind up DNFing this early into the race, so I wind up giving the position to him. Now it's Sebastian Vettel challenging us for a spot, and again with Sebastian Vettel, I also don't fight him very hard as well. He makes the move into turn 1. He dives, sends it in there. I decide to back it off a little bit, let him have that position, and live to see another day. Now it's his teammate Stroll, though, behind us that we're going to have to defend from next, and just try and maybe see if we can stay inside that top 15. This time by, though, our pit window opens, so that means a lot of the leaders are going to be on the pit lane this time by as well. We pit 1 lap later, but here's the first pit stops of the season. Here's Leclerc boxing before his teammate Carlos Sainz, trying the undercut, and the same thing for Verstappen as well. Also trying the undercut on his teammate of Perez. So both of them have fantastic pit stops. They are away on the hard tires, but it can't be the same story here for Schumacher. Right rear taking forever to get off that car. You see him taking a long time on this pit stop, so that is a lot of ground lost for the 47 of Mick Schumacher, and that is an unfortunate way for him to start his season. But here is Stroll, who we're battling with. A good pit stop for him, and Stroll is away nicely. Here we are for our first pit stop, and I was hoping we would just have no mistakes on it, and we definitely did not have mistakes, because that pit stop wound up being a blistering 2.4 seconds, a fantastic first ever pit stop for the team. And then exiting the pit lane right here, I found out real quick how bad the cold tires are going to be on this game also as well. Lewis Hamilton comes right by us, and we make just a slight bit of contact right there. A little bit of contact with the 7-time world champion, but thank goodness nobody winds up spinning, and you can see right there just no grip at all with these dead cold tires. We get DRS thankfully down this back straightaway, but then up here's Verstappen also struggling with the cold tires. He makes contact with one of the Alpine drivers and winds up actually having some damage to his front wing. So that is a awful time off the pit lane. The cold tires for everybody struggling with them right now as they exit the pit lane. You saw him lock up his front, or his left front. But back to us once again. We are now dealing with those cold tires again and just missing the corner. I tried braking at the normal time, realized that was a mistake instantly. And that's going to allow Lance Stroll, who's 1.2 seconds behind us, to easily catch us here. We're still struggling through Sector 2 right here as well. We came out right behind Lewis Hamilton. We made contact with Lewis Hamilton in a sector and a half later, and he's 3.2 seconds up the road. He is absolutely hauling right now compared to us. You can just see those tires. They're finally now closing in on getting warm, but here comes Lance Stroll up through the end of Sector 2, and he is right to the inside of us, just easily cruises on by. Obviously, the cold tires not affecting him as much as they are us. We make a little bit of contact. Thankfully, no damage to either one of our cars, but I'm still just not having a good time with the cold tires. Neither is Pierre Gasly, who has an issue right there, locking up his right front tire, but luckily, no contact either there. He keeps on going, and you can see me still trying to check the temperatures, still worrying about them. Now it's Zhou making a pass on us as well, and actually full sending up the inside of Stroll, and we actually make a pass back on him because he was also struggling with the tires as well. Couldn't get the car turned. We make that pass back on him, and we stay in 17th place. And at this point, I'm just trying to warm up those tires as fast as possible. They say they're listed there as warm, but I do not have any grip whatsoever into the first turn. I almost made contact with Stroll again, just not getting on the brakes at the right time and still just struggling with the temperatures. You also saw Stroll get a little bit loose right there. He's also struggling with them as well. I just have no grip anywhere. Again, still cannot put the power down like I'd want to. And I was surprised at this point that Joe hadn't made a pass on us yet, but here is a pass happening. Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel are going at each other right now, and neither one of them wanting to give up the spot. They make some contact, and still Vettel fighting back on the outside. They can't get clear of each other. They're still fighting, and here we are also fighting with the tires still. It's been 2 laps, and we still cannot get any grip in these tires whatsoever. They say they're warm, but it does not feel like it at all. The early stint on these hard tires are an extreme struggle for me, and Lance Stroll is just absolutely pulling away right now. And once again, still surprised. To this point, I have not seen Joe fight back. I thought with the way that he was looking coming off the lap we came off the pit lane that he would be challenging us lap after lap after lap, especially with us still struggling for tire grip, but he has not done that so far. Here is Carlos Sainz in for his first stop of the day, trying to hope that the undercut that his teammate pulled did not work. Same thing for Sergio Perez, also in for his first pit stop, and Max Verstappen, obviously, also having a pit right here as well with the damage to his front wing. He goes with the soft tires, so the undercut certainly not working for Verstappen over Perez. He's in for the pit lane the second time today. And that is certainly disappointment for the 2021 world champion. But here's Alonso making a move on Lando Norris, and actually he goes to the outside, catches the curb, loses the front end of the car, and has to slow down and stop, and then also let Lando Norris' teammate of Daniel Ricciardo through, and then he gets going once again. So Fernando Alonso losing a couple of spots out of that exchange. Here is Max Verstappen now being super aggressive on Pierre Gasly, a move up the inside with those soft tires versus the hard tires. And I mean, to this point, I was loving the AI's aggressiveness. They raced fantastically. This is the best AI I have faced so far. And here we are once again trying to make a move on Lance Stroll using our DRS. He goes to block to the inside. I think about it, and then I also think about maybe a move to the outside, but I think better of it, make a little bit of contact with him once again. I'm so far extremely lucky that I have not had that turn into damage to my car. I've done that twice to Lance Stroll, and luckily both times I've gotten away with it. Here's Lewis Hamilton once again, a pit stop for some wing damage. I couldn't find what exactly the reason for it was, but again, Lewis Hamilton on the pit lane one more time for wing damage. This is an abysmal start for him. And also Max Verstappen on the pit lane one more time now to put on the soft tires. His other set of softs wore out, so he had to make another pit stop. But here we are once again still battling with Lance Stroll, and this is pretty much a thing I'm going to be saying for the entirety of the rest of this race. Me and Lance Stroll absolutely had a scrap for the rest of this entire race almost. Me and the Canadian, we could not get away from each other, and we just found ourselves going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But for now, I was still trying to just build up the temperature, build up the comfortability on these hard tires. I still did not have the grip in them that I felt like. It took me until lap 23 or 24 to even feel comfortable, and now here we're looking at the leaders also. 21 laps into this race, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc are only 5/10 from each other. They are still extremely close. Obviously, the undercut did not work for Leclerc, but still it has left him very close to his teammate. These two cannot get away from each other. So there is one heck of a scrap going on for that first top step on the podium. Perez also currently in third as well on the podium, so that's a really good start for Perez. But again, lap 21 coming to lap 22, we're still battling with Lance Stroll, and I'm still trying to find the comfortability in the car as well, but this time I'm closer to him than I have been. I'm using the ERS, using the DRS to my advantage. He goes to block to the inside. I go all the way to the inside, sending up a big move on Lance Stroll there. He wants to block big time, but I make that move work into turn one, late braking and just barely squeeze out right in front of Lance Stroll, make him back up a little bit, and we finally have passed Lance Stroll, but now he's going to fight back once again. I'm trying to block and make every move that I can to try and defend from the Canadian and just not let him get past me. You see right here, he's going to try for it once again. He's the closest he's been in the last couple of laps. He's only a 10th behind me, and Joe is also entering this battle as well now, so this is turning in to quite the scrap between the three of us as me and Stroll have been just battling it out over and over and over again. He's sending it to the outside this time into the final corner. I squeeze him out just a little bit right here and still force that position, force myself to stay in 14th place and just try and keep myself in front of Stroll, but this time he's way too close. I can't do anything to defend. I try, but he has just all the DRS and ERS he wants. Stroll makes the pass easy. Now we got to defend on Joe, who makes the move to the inside, and we're luckily able to keep the position on him, but now just a couple of laps later, he decides to full send to the inside. I try and block it, but I realize I have nothing for him once again, so it's just like Stroll, I have nothing for Joe. I back out going to the first turn. He full sends it up to the inside of Stroll. That was a lunge from way far behind, and then he keeps it side by side into turn two. Stroll gets really loose, has to make a big save, and that allows Joe to move up a place up in the 13th place. Now I'm attacking on Stroll, who who got loose. I used the DRS and all the ERS that I have. We're still side by side heading into turn number 3, and I squeeze him out once again, but he fights back. He doesn't let me do it this time, and we're still side by side going into turn 4, 5, and 6. Eventually, though, he backs out of it, lets me have the position, and that scrap for now is finished with Lance Stroll as we are finally back into 14th place once again, now looking to see if we can attack Guan Yu Zhou. But actually, before I can even think about battling with Joe, Schumacher decides to join this battle as well. So it's a 4-car scrap, and I'm just trying to defend to the inside, but he wants no part of that. He makes a move to the outside. So I try and squeeze him out into the last corner like I've done so many times in this race. I don't want to let anybody pass me, especially when he still has DRS. But coming to the 2 laps to go in this race, Joe actually heads to the pit lane for some kind of issue. I think it's with his front wing. So we get that position on him, but then Schumacher easily blows right past us. We also have the DRS, but he just has a much stronger pace than we do. I decide to be aggressive, full send it back up the inside once again. I don't want to give this spot up to Mick Schumacher. We're side by side into turn 2, and then he gets super loose. Look at the save. He makes a huge save right there for Schumacher, so that's going to give us a good advantage over Schumacher, trying to set up for this final lap to just hope and pray that I can stay in front of him and finish 13th in this race, as we are on the final lap now. And actually, Carlos Sainz is going to get his first victory, so that is a huge win for Carlos Sainz. Not only is that his first victory of the season, but that is his first career victory, so that is a huge moment for Carlos Sainz, and 13th for us will be a huge victory as well in our team's first race. All I want to do at this point is just protect from Mick Schumacher, not letting anything happen, but he actually decides to full send it up the inside, and he turns us. He spins us out on the final lap heading into Sector 2. We can't move. We're stuck with his car. The car is destroyed. We finally get it moving, but that is heartbreak for us in our first race of the season. We also get a 5-second penalty to make things worse. What the f*** is he doing? F***ing idiot. Unbelievable. There you hear me irate on the radio as our race has just been ruined. I don't want to hear from our engineer, Mark. 16th place, or 17th rather, because we're still going to get that 5-second penalty when we cross the line. It's still not bad for this team, but it is certainly unfortunate after we had 13th place going for us. And there you see the car right there. It is absolutely mangled and destroyed as we cross the line to, unfortunately, come home at 17th place in our first race in Bahrain. That is a disappointing finish after the race that we had going, after the run that we had going. Lance Stroll gets driver of the day, the first driver of the day of the season, and we just so happened to battle with him pretty much the entire race. But now it is time for the podium celebrations.
That's it then for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Bahrain, and a real champion's drive to take the win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
There you see the new podium celebration as well. I find that podium celebration very cool. I'm glad that they finally decided to change it up. But here's the finishing order from the race as well. So Leclerc winds up on the podium as well. So does Sergio Perez. Russell gets a 4th place finish to start off the season. Lando Norris also in the top 5. You see the penalty report at the very end of the race. Myself and Mick Schumacher both getting penalties at the very end for that last lap collision. And just again, an unfortunate finish after what we had going. But we did have a fantastic race going our way. That is something that we can take positives out of, and it's still also the very first race, the very first time this team has shown up on track, and we got some valuable information. Unfortunately, though, our teammate of Piastri, DNFing after 2 laps, wasn't able to really get much information for us. So you know what I do right here? We have a way to improve our teammate. They give me either pace or awareness. I give him awareness because you know what? He was not very aware on that first lap and crashed himself out because he ran into somebody who was slow. But here you see us here also trying to get ready to prepare for the next race, which is immediately a week later in Saudi Arabia. An unfortunate finish, but that was still a fantastic race. And these AI, I am very happy racing against them. I'm enjoying them the most. I've enjoyed the AI the last couple of seasons, or the last couple of games, so I really am having a fun time against them. But here we are preparing for Saudi Arabia, just going through all the little menus and everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. Like I said, not many mods are here yet, but we will get them in eventually. I will get some more graphics made. We had the radio graphic there. That's about the bare minimum I've gotten so far. We'll have more. There will certainly be more that come into this series, and I can't wait to see where this storyline goes. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched to this point, I appreciate all of you a ton. If you could leave a like on the video, that would be appreciated very much. It helps out a lot with the algorithm. And if you could hit that subscribe button as well, I would also appreciate that. We're getting close to 200, and yeah, I would appreciate that a ton. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.